Okay. So I have started recording. Okay. Guys, the chapter which we studied last week, rather the topic which we started, is power sharing. You know, just some time back, I have uploaded a video on YouTube and I have sent the link to all of you. So, you know, you can go through that link. Part one is what we discussed last week. So that much I have covered in that video, and you can go through that. So just to revise, and then we will start. So power sharing, what we discussed last time is intelligent sharing of power among legislature, executive and judiciary. Legislature is what? We know what is legislature. Parliament system, Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, okay. And state level also we have. Executive is what? At center level you have what? You have, for example, you have president, you have prime minister, and you have vice president also of the country, prime minister, and you have what? Members of minister, MOCs, ministers of council, okay. And at state level you have what? For president you have what? You have governor. At state level you do not have prime minister, but you have what? You have chief minister, and you have ministers also at state level. At state level also you have home minister, finance minister, right? So that comes under executive. And judiciary, you also know. Judiciary is what? See, judiciary we do not have center level or state level. Judiciary we have together, means, you know, at the highest level we have Supreme Court. For every, you know, states we have one high court. So there are many high courts, you know, because high courts are state wise. Remember guys, for, you know, for two states there is one high court, okay. So below high court you have other courts also, like matters related to civil means property, district courts and all, okay. And you have matters related to criminal laws. So you have different lower courts, okay. So that is judiciary. So power is, you know, distributed among all these three, and then they form a system which is democratic system. See, judiciary judges are appointed by whom? By the executives. But executives cannot remove judges from their position. We have studied that in 9th standard or 8th standard. So remember that, because they are independent, right? Democracy is what? You know, democracy is what? Government, people's government, okay, where people select their representative, where kings or rulers, or we can say rulers are selected by people. That is called democracy. We studied this, okay. So the video which I have uploaded on YouTube, you please go through that I have tried to make in more detail. Please share with your 10th standard friends also, probably if they will like, okay. And you guys also subscribe and ask them also to subscribe the channel, so that, you know, you will receive all the educational videos. Okay guys, then what we studied? Remember, we studied the story of Belgium and Sri Lanka on what? Power sharing. Remember, in Belgium what was the case? Case was little different. Their 59% population were living in Flemish region and they were speaking Dutch language, and 40% people were staying where? Wallonia region, and their population was how much? 40%, and they were speaking French. So 59% people speaking Dutch and 40% speaking French language. And we also know Belgium is a small country. It is just like equal to Haryana. Population of Belgium is less than Haryana, means less than 2 crores, right? Borders, we know their neighboring countries are Netherlands, France and Germany. Ethnic composition, I just told you. There are, you know, 1% of people, they speak German also. And the capital of Belgium is Brussels. If you remember, we discussed last time. In Brussels, the population, see, in whole country, the population of Dutch speaking people is 59%. But in Brussels, which is the capital of Belgium, there are French speaking people 80%, and in whole country French speaking people are only 40%. So how they resolved there was some these French speaking people were community was rich. Okay, this was resented by Dutch speaking people, and when economic development started, they got the benefits. Now here, Dutch speaking, okay, we will cut it. Okay, Brussels, I just now told you, in Brussels, which is capital of Belgium, population of French speaking people is 80% over there. Now next case, we saw Sri Lanka case, if you remember. In Sri Lanka, where is that point? Yeah, Sinhala speaking people are 74%, and these people follow Buddhism, whereas 18% people are Tamil speakers, and in 18% people also we know there are 13% are Sri Lankan Tamils, or where is that point? Sri Lankan Tamils, see here, and 5% are Indian Tamils. And you know Indian Tamils, 5% Indian Tamils, how they got settled there? I have told you the story during the colonial rule when Britishers sent them to Sri Lanka for tea plantation during the colonial rule. And these 18% people, 13% plus 5% people are Hindus or Muslims. In Sri Lanka, there are 7% people are Christians also. And this Christian community belongs both from Sinhala as well as the Indian Tamil Sri Lankans, right? So this is how it is. And what was the case there? We have seen there also the issue was Sinhala government came in, and how they shared the power. We will study that. After that, we study that. In Sri Lanka, if you remember, what took place? Majoritarianism. Majoritarianism means where majority Sinhala people, they in Sri Lanka they got independence when last time I had told you, remember 3 dates very important. 1948, this date they got independence. After that, if you remember, I told you, remember this date 1956. What happened on 1956? They passed an act, and in that act what was there? This is important paragraph, please note that. Priority was given to Sinhala community over Tamilians, right? So what kind of priority was given to them? They were given preferential policies that follow Sinhala applicants for university positions and government jobs. So preference was given to them. Okay, and other was Sinhala was made official language, and they disregarded Tamil. This was one point I have given you last time. This is second, and there is one very important third point also. Constitution, new constitution stipulated that state shall protect and foster Buddhism. So Buddhism was the country's religion, and foster means to adopt, means to prosper. This is, and because of this, what happened, guys? The Tamilians felt like they are alienated. I had told you the meaning of alienation means separated. They are like isolated from within the country, right? Because why? Buddhist Sinhala leaders were sensitive to their language and cultures. They were not sensitive. They felt that none of the major political parties which were led by whom? Sinhalas, Buddhist Sinhalas, they were not sensitive to Tamil language and their cultures. So they felt like alienated. Remember this word. Then in your exam, you will get a graph also, or a picture where they might ask you, this picture says what? You might, and there might be options, ethnic communities of Sri Lanka, ethnic communities of Pakistan, ethnic communities of Bhutan, or ethnic communities of Nepal. So you have to choose the select. See, these maps come in your exam, okay? And you have to see, and you have to, these are MCQs, like best right options you have to select. So this comes for 2 or 3 maps will come. So please make it a habit of memorizing these maps from your book. Next, what point we studied, beta? The Sri Lankan Tamils, what they did? Third date, this is third point which is very important. Launched parties and struggle for the recognition of Tamil as official language. Okay, they wanted regional autonomy, the areas where their population is good, they wanted that independent. Equality of opportunities in education and jobs, government jobs, they wanted that. Okay, what they did for achieving that target, they launched their parties. Okay, so this is one third important date, 1980. So first is 1948, second is 1956, and third date is 1980. So what happened on 1980? Guys, please try to remember. They formed several political organizations, and what they demanded, I had told you in last lecture, Tamil Elam. Tamil Elam means what? Separate state for Tamils. So because of this, what happened? The Sinhala people, Sinhala government or the Buddhist Sinhala government did not give any recognition to them. And because of that, what happened after that? There was, this is important, distrust. People started not to believing each other between the two communities, and then civil war started. Civil war, you know what is civil war? Where communities within the country itself, they fight with each other. So this was a very severe, very bad civil war in Sri Lanka. Because of this civil war, what happened? Thousands of both the communities have been killed, and many families were forced to leave the country as refugees, and many more lost their livelihood. So this is what happened. So this Sri Lanka followed which policy? Sri Lanka followed majoritarianism policy, where majority was pressing minority people. Next, we also saw the policy adopted by Belgium in our second case study. So Belgium followed which policy? Accommodation policy. So accommodation policy in Belgium is what? See, the Belgian leaders took a different path, recognized, and they recognized the existence of which people? French speaking people and 1% German speaking people. Who accepted that? Dutch speaking people. Dutch speaking people, what was their percentage in population? 59%. And French speaking were 40%. And German speaking were. So this majority people, they followed which policy? Accommodation. They said, okay, French people, German people, we will live together. Okay, they followed that policy. They gave recognition to French speaking people and German speaking people. Now what happened after that? They made amendments. Amendment means changes in their constitution. How many times? 4 times. 4 or 4. Where is that point? Okay. Between 1917, they amended their constitution 4 times. Okay. And why they made changes? Not once, twice, 4 times. Why they made changes? Because they wanted to make arrangement. Which kind of arrangement? So that different from some of the elements of Belgium, so that all people can live together. So what were the elements of Belgium mode? So what kind of amendments they made? First, we have studied this in last lecture. I am just revising things. Constitution prescribes that number of Dutch and French speaking ministers shall be equal. So equal. So Dutch people said, okay, no problem. French people are 40% only, but still you take 50% of ministerial positions. Some special laws requiring support of majority linguistic groups. Okay, okay. Second, many powers of central government have been given to state governments. Okay, they made central government and state, CG central government and SG state government. So powers were divided between central and state government. So this is another thing, state wise, region wise. The state governments are not, and this is important point. So you might get one more question. In Belgium, the amendments they made in the constitution, they made like state governments are not subordinate to central government. True or false? This is true. When they make amendments, they made it like state governments are independent. They will not report to central government. Okay, that way they made. Next, Brussels. We studied about Brussels also. In Brussels, Dutch speaking people were 59 and French speaking people were only 40%. So what they did there? See, equal representation. So French speaking, I'm wrong. Let me take this back. In Brussels, this was different. French speaking were 80% in Brussels, capital, and Dutch speaking were only 20%. So in Brussels, French speaking people, they said, we are 80% of population, but still we will give 50% representation to Dutch speaking people. Why they did that? Because in whole country Dutch speaking people were 59% and they gave 50% representation to French speaking people. So French speaking people told, okay, perfectly fine, you gave us party representation in whole country. Now in Brussels also, where we are 80%, we will give you representation of 20%, 50% to Dutch speaking people. So this way they made accommodation. That is called, guys, remember this word, accommodation. They adjusted on things, right? So this is what happened. Okay. Now this is one more important thing. This government has the power regarding cultural education, and apart from, see, central and state government, they made a third government. See, question comes in exam. This third government was, what was the role and responsibility of third government, or this third government was formed for what? So your answer will be, this was community government and their responsibility was power regarding cultural, educational and language related issues. So whatever cultural, educational, language related issues were there, those issues will be taken care by the community government. Community government is which? What government? Third government, center, state and community government. So we have studied this also, guys. Let's go further. So what happened? Because this Belgium model was easy. No, Belgium model was complicated, but still they made it. Okay. And because of this, what happened? Because of this European Union, because Belgium is part of Europe, right? So there is European Union. European Union, what they did? They chose Brussels, the capital of Belgium, as the headquarter for European Union. Okay. So question might come in the exam. Headquarter of European Union is situated where? German, they will give you 4 or 5 states or countries. Okay. One option will be Brussels. So you please mention Brussels, at Brussels. Next. We had done till here in our last chapter, last lecture. So what we learned from, this is the conclusion, what we learned from these two stories. What we learned from these two stories. See, both were democracies, Belgium as well as Sri Lanka, but they dealt same issue with different approach. Belgium, what they did? Their leaders, they realized that unity of the country is possible. How? Only by respecting and the feeling and interest of different communities. So they felt their approach was that the Belgium people, they, or their leaders, they said that if we will respect feelings of all the communities in the country, then our country will grow. And Sri Lanka, what they did, it is a contrasting example. Contrasting means opposite. So they followed majoritarian approach. That is, majority community wants to force its dominance over others. Okay. And it might undermine the unity of the country. So these were the two approaches. So guys, in our last lecture, we had done till here. Now, next. So today's lecture will start from here, and only 3-4 pages are left. We will try to close it on early basis. So now the question is, why power sharing is desirable? Why we should share power? Right. See, guys, thus two different sets of reasons can be given in favor of power sharing. Remember this, I have highlighted, this I will send you today. First is that, see, I will just, this part, prudential, and second is moral. So now the part which we are reading is prudential part. So try to understand. First, power sharing is good because it helps to reduce the possibility of conflict. So if you will not share powers, for example, in Sri Lanka we saw they did not share the powers, So Sinhala people, they kept all the powers with them. So because of that, what happened? There was conflict between the groups. So power sharing is good. It is prudential. See, remember this point, prudential. Why it is prudential? See, question in the exam will come. Why is power sharing good? So first, prudential reason here. Prudential reason, power sharing, possible conflicts between the social groups will be reduced. Since social conflict often leads to violence and political instability, power sharing is good way to ensure the stability of political order. So if you will share like they did in Belgium, there is stability in the country. Imposing the will of majority, if you will force the will of majority, what majority people want, what will happen? For short term period it is good, see our others may look attractive option, short term it is good, but long term what will happen? But in the long run it undermines the unity of the nation. So unity of the nation is, it will be for the toss. So now second, there is second deeper reason. So now second reason is here beta, second moral. So I have highlighted here for your notes. There is moral reason also. Moral reason is what? That is deeper. See, moral reasons are very deeper. Like deeper reason why power sharing is good for democracy. See, power sharing is very spirit of democracy. But see, if you will study democracy, so democracy itself says power sharing should be there. So if you see the first page, in first page only we have seen for a healthy democracy, power sharing is there, legislature is there, executive is there, judice. This is what? This is also power sharing. Okay. So for democracy, there has to be power sharing. If all the power is with one person or with one community, then there that is not good for long term. Okay, for the nation. See here, where is that point? Okay. Second is deeper reason why sharing of profit. See, power sharing is the spirit of democracy. See, remember, I have underlined this line, spirit of democracy. A democratic rule involves sharing of profit. So democracy, it is the necessity of democracy that power sharing has to be there. So that is why it is said moral. Okay. Now, the democracy involves sharing power affected in existence and who have to live with its effect. People have a right to consult on how they are going to be. So people should be asked, how they want to be governed by the government. A legitimate government is one. See, what is a legitimate government? Good government is one where citizens through participation acquire a stake in the system, where all the citizens are given participation. Next guy. So what we studied, why power sharing is desirable. If question will come, why power sharing is desirable, your answer should be in 2 points. Firstly, prudential reason. Prudential reason is what? It helps to reduce the possibility of conflict between the groups. Since social conflict leads to violence and political instability, power sharing is a good way to ensure stability. That is one. And second is moral. Moral means power sharing is the basic necessity for any democracy. That is the second reason. That is why power sharing is desirable. So this is one. In exam, you might get this, old van, black van. So they will ask you, what is this? This is shows what? So your answer should be fine German engineering. This is one, but the actual answer is here. See guys, the cartoon at the left refers to the problem of running Germany's grand coalition government. See, in Germany there was a coalition government. When we say coalition government means, see, if elections take place and none of the government gets majority seats, then they form government with other parties. Okay, so when you form government with other parties, that is called coalition government. So includes two major parties of the countries, namely Christian Democratic Union and the Social Democratic parties. See, in Germany in 2005, I guess, see here, in 2000 they were opposite parties. Okay, but none of them got majority. So what they did, both of them, they have steering here. See, दोनों गाड़ी चला रहे हैं मिलजुल के, right? So that is good. They have to form a coalition government because why? Neither of them got majority of the seats on their own. तो वो लोग चला रहे. So they take divergent position on several policy matters, but still jointly run the government. So this picture shows that. Next, guys. Yeah, Khalil's dilemma I am not going to read, guys. So you please read off your own. Next topic. Forms of power sharing. What are the various forms of power sharing? How you can share the power? This is important. This will come in the exam. Forms of power sharing. Okay, guys, see. The idea of power sharing has emerged in opposition of the notions. Notions ka meaning hai ideas. Okay, so remember this. of undivided political. For a long time, it was believed that all power of government must reside in one person. See, from a very long period, okay, it was believed क्या कि एक बंदा है उसी के पास सारे powers रहेंगे. So this is what government must reside in one person or group of persons or few people or group of people. So this was earlier days, it was like that. Feeling was like that. So it was felt that if the power is decided to decide is dispersed. Dispersed means spread. Here I have written the meaning. If the power is given to different people, to him also, to him, what will happen? If power is dispersed or distributed or spread among different, what will happen? It would not be possible to take quick decisions. See, if one person is there and all the powers are with him, he can take decisions quickly. That was the assumption that the power should be with one group of people or with one person, right? And they can take quick decisions. But is that democracy? No, that is not democracy. Right? Like in India, there was Mughal rule. There was, British rule. Power, all the powers were with them. There was no democracy. But now in India, we have a very too much of healthy democracy now we have in India, right? But these notions have changed. ये जो ऐसा notions means ideas. People thought, what their thought was, with few people only the power should be there. But with time nowadays it is changed. And what is happened is I have highlighted here in bracket. One basic principle of democracy is what? Power should not be with one person. Okay. Democracy is that people are the source of all political power. So now we have democracy. Democracy means people elect their representative. Representatives are, elected by people. So in a democracy, people rule themselves through institutions of self-governance, right? Next. Here, everyone has a voice in shaping of public policy. So whatever, this is important. One person should not make public policy. So inclusive it has to be. Inclusive means everyone's, choice has to be taken care of. So now you will say, sir, how we do not, we do not make any public policy. No, when government make any public policy, they take consideration of their people who have voted for them, and for their benefit only, what they want accordingly they make the public policy. So that is why it is said everyone has a voice in the shaping of public policy. So remember this, guys. Okay. Now next. This is important. I have highlighted here 3-star. In modern democracies, now today, like modern democracies, see, some democracies are still not modern. Okay. In modern democracies, power sharing arrangement can take many forms. Okay. Your answer will be like this. This is last point. Point number 20 I have given you. Last point. Arrangements can take many forms. Let us look at some of the most common arrangements. How power sharing is done. So this will be asked if this question will come for long answer. So this is how you will write. At least I have highlighted here. First point, power shared among different organs of government. Remember from where we started our chapter, legislature, executive, judiciary. Because we follow what? Constitution. Every country has constitution and we follow our constitution. So for example, there is legislature. Legislature means what? Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha. At state level also you have legislative assembly and legislative council you have at state level also. So they form what? All the laws. Then you have executives. In parliament you make all the laws. At state level also you make laws. But who is responsible to implement those laws? Executives. So at center level executives are president, vice president, prime minister, ministers, or their council of ministers like finance, defense and all. And at state level you do not have president. At state level you have governor. At state level you have governor, and then you have chief ministers and you have council of ministers. And at judiciary level is what? See, in judiciary level is not center level and state level. It is, remember guys, it is integrated. Integrated means pura country ka judiciary system is connected with each other. So you have highest court is Supreme Court, then you have High Court. High Court means in one country, one Supreme Court is there, then you have state-wise High Courts, and then you have different courts, okay? So they are called subordinate courts. Next. So power shared among different organs, this will be your point number 1, judiciary, close. Only this much, you don't have to learn whole book, okay? Now, one more point you can take. Although judges are appointed by executive, see guys, in the judiciary system, who appoint here? In the judiciary system, who appoint the judges? Executives. But executives cannot take them out from their positions. Remember that. See that here. Although judges are appointed by executives, executives means, remember in 9th standard, probably you have studied, there is a body who appoint the judges. One is chair, prime minister is there. I guess leader of opposition is there, and chief executive. Remember that? Okay. They can appoint the judges. Okay. But they cannot, see here, they can check the functioning of executives or law made by the legislature. And judges, what they will do? They will see whether they are functioning. Who? Executives. See, judges are appointed by executives, and then executives check the judges check the executives whether executives are working as per the constitution or not. So this arrangement is called a dash. See, this might come in the exam. System of checks and balances. Remember beta this. System of checks and balances. Next. Power can be shared among government at different levels. You know, at India, we have different level of government. CG, central government, SG, state government. You have, what is that? Village panchayats and all. Okay. So at different levels also power is shared. See, at center, one party is there. For example, BJP is there. But in Maharashtra, you have entire totally different government. There is Shiv Sena, Congress, Rashtrapati together. Okay. So it is shared at different levels. Okay. A central government for the entire country is there. And then you have second government. Governments at provincial or regional basis, you have one government. Okay. Such a general government for the entire country is dash, known as dash. Remember this. जो पूरा country का government, that is called federal government. In India, we refer it to, India में हम क्या बोलते हैं? Union government or center government, federal government, right? We call them state government. Next. But in those countries like ours, where there are different levels of government, see, in our government, in our country, we have different level of governments. The constitution clearly, देखो हमारे जो country है ना बेटा, for example, we have constitution, right? State government, central government, state government और ये village panchayats, इन सबके रूल्स क्या हैं, इनके पावर्स क्या है, वो क्लियरली मेंशन किया गया है कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में. आई होप आई हैव टॉट यू दिस. ओके, तो जब कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन हमारा बना था तब क्लियरली बोला था कि सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट के पावर्स क्या होंगे. फॉर एग्जांपल डिफेंस किसके अंडर में आता है? सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट के अंडर. समझ में आया? स्टेट, वन एग्जांपल है, स्टेट गवर्नमेंट के अंडर में क्या आता है? एग्रीकल्चर, स्टेट गवर्नमेंट का इशू. ओके, विलेज पंचायत आई विल नॉट गो. So, but very clearly mentioned in the constitution. But one thing which I want to highlight here, see, after our constitution is made at the time of independence, you remember that constituent assembly was there, 300 people were there, okay? And then they made constitution under the leadership of Dr. Baba Sahib Ambedkar. Okay, so we know all that knowledge we have. So at the time of independence, what laws were very clearly, given, distributed, powers were distributed among central government. But what there were so many laws which were made after making constitution. For example, IT Act, information, this is very important. See, IT Act for knowledge purpose, guys. So IT was not there 1947, right? So IT came later, but there is act in IT Act is also there. So IT will go under who will have powers related to IT. See, in constitution it is very clearly mentioned, anything which will come new, that will go to central government, not to the state government. So IT comes under central government. So remember that. So what we are studying, beta, we are studying in modern democracy, power sharing arrangement kaise hai? How are the power sharing arrangements? So first one we studied power sharing arrangement, different organs of the government. जो government है, legislature, executive and judiciary. Under this, one more important point was their system of checks and balances. Checks and balances is that executive might appoint judiciary, judge, but then judiciary will check executives if executive is working properly or not. That is called system of checks and balances. Next, power can be shared among government at different levels, central government, state government, zilla panchayat, corporations and all, right? So in countries of ours, it is very clearly mentioned where in constitution, remember that, powers of different. So this is called federal division of power. So if it will come, it is called federal division of power. Next, see, we also have municipalities and panchayats, such as municipalities. Next, third point, power may also be shared among different social groups. So social groups like such as the religious, see underline कर रहा हूँ यहाँ पे, religious and linguistic groups. See in India also minorities, they enjoy very special, minorities, they enjoy very special, their rights. They can have their educational institutions, religious institutions, government will not interfere. These kind of benefits are given to minorities in India, in large part. Okay, we have studied that. So community government, that is called. Okay, and community government in Belgium also we have studied. There was related to religion, culture. They made a third government that is called community government, right? So powers may be shared among different social groups about the societies. Okay, so you will write up to here, and then if there is any other important point, I will give you. See, last year we studied the system of reserved constituencies in assemblies and the parliament of our country. Do you know we have studied last year in India based on castes and all. There are some specific reserved constituencies are also there in India for parliamentary elections. So that is what powers, so that no one feels alienated. Alienated, I just taught you that word. Alienated means out. So for specific people who are not financially very poor, who do not have money power to go fight in the election, that community or that particular group of people in our society should not be feel alienated. For them also we have make reservations in constituencies. So means from those constituencies, only from people from a particular caste, they only can go for elections, fight elections, right? And for women also we have made, you can remember that point also, for females. Next, power sharing arrangements can also be seen in way political parties, pressure groups and movements. See, like we studied, like you all know now, China. I will give you an example. How is China elections? How are they working China elect? There is Communist Party, and Communist Party is always in the rule. What is the reason, guys? Let me tell you. See, if this is Mr. A, he wants to fight election in China, in any part of China, he has to take permission of Communist Party. So what does that mean? Means no one can be against Communist Party. If anybody is against Communist Party, he cannot run the election. Everything is over. So every time Communist Party is coming to power. Now see in India, how it is in India. Anybody can come and fight elections in India. Just what is required, he has to be citizen of India and some certain age criteria are there, and he can fight elections. There are n number of parties in India. So what is happening? We are sharing powers. See in center now, one party is in rule for today on 26th April 2002. Who is ruling in India? Center, BJP. In Maharashtra, there is a coalition party between Shiv Sena, Rashtrabadi, and if you will go to West Bengal, there is different party. Mamata Banerjee, that party. What is that? Trinamool Congress. So like that, different groups are there. So when there are different groups, So there is competition, and when there is competition, there is pressure. So this is also one very good thing of power sharing. You can share power this way also, where different groups can participate. For example, in China, there is only one communist party. So the way they want to run the country, they are running the country like that. There is no, nobody can challenge them. So this is one way of sharing power. Power sharing arrangement can also be seen the political parties, pressure groups, and movements control or influence those in power. In a democracy, the citizens must have freedom to choose among various contenders of power. A, B, C, D, E. These many people are fighting election, so people can vote for anyone whom they like. In contemporary democracies, this takes the form of competition among different parties. Such competition ensures that power does not remain in one hand. So power is not in one hand. So you can share powers like this. Guys, we are done with the chapter. I hope you understood this chapter. Just want the feedback. Just tell me, you understood or no? Guys, speak out, please. Vedika,
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sushil,
Yes, sir.
all okay. Everybody understood. Okay, then thank you very much. I will send you few questions. You please solve. Last week I was supposed to send, but then I got occupied with some other things. Now, next 2 3 hours, I will definitely send you. I have uploaded a video on Facebook, on YouTube. Please go through that video. Share with your friends. I am requesting you. And today's lecture is done. Bye. Take care. Thank you very much.